And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather graphic here for Monday morning. Some IFR up here, North Slope, Northeast Interior there, down to south of Eagle. Then VFR here through the central and western part of the state. Narrow band of IFR, Alaska Range, on down Northeast Bristol Bay into a little bit bigger area there over the southeastern Bering Sea with marginal VFR up to Nunivak Island, VFR St. Lawrence Island, Aleutians, marginal VFR. Some IFR here in the Gulf of Alaska that's initially into the east side of the Kenai Peninsula there with marginal VFR for the Panhandle. Then for the afternoon, band of IFR up along the North Gulf Coast into the northern and eastern southeast coast. And so looking at a band of IFR along the Alaska Range here from about Isabel Pass all the way down to the south. And another area here over northern Bristol Bay, southern Kuskokwim Valley. And still some IFR there south of Nunivak Island, mostly off the southwest coast though, and Alaska Peninsula, Bering Sea side, and a biggest area up here over the northeast interior in the Brooks Range. Moving on to the Tuesday morning time, December 24th. IFR for the Brooks Range out to the Arctic coast, and a lot of IFR here in the Gulf of Alaska up into the Prince William Sound area. And Cook Inlet as well with IFR for Kodiak Island and the northern Panhandle. You can see improving here over the central and southern southeast coast with VFR breaking out. And a band IFR here along the Aleutians. And then for the afternoon, IFR here with an Arctic boundary and probably snow along this feature from the eastern Arctic coast right on down to the southwest coast here. Bering Sea and Aleutians, marginal VFR, same thing for Kodiak Island. And still IFR along the Alaska Range there, as well as the North Gulf Coast into the northern Panhandle. And for passes, Anatuvik, IFR for Monday, same forecast for Adigan, IFR flying there as well. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR for Rainy, windy, IFR, and Isabel also IFR. And you get over toward Mentasta, should become VFR there. And for Tanita, marginal VFR. Portage, IFR. Chilkoot and White, IFR. And moving on to the freezing levels here, we've got 2,000 feet right across along the North Gulf Coast, south central Alaska, much of the southwest interior here, and on down the Panhandle with the surface freezing level a little farther to the north there, and about 2,000 feet there just south of the central and western Aleutian areas there. Next map up. Icing, and we've got with the front out here, we've got some icing associated with that with the next system here. Could be occasionally considerably moderate there for Adak and Atka, North Gulf Coast as well, and some more icing up over the northern interior there. And then from there, taking a look at the jet stream, and we've got westerly flow here at about 70 knots along the Aleutians, and southwest flow 85 knots into the southeast coast. Easterlies at 60 knots up over the North Slope and the Arctic coast. And for 9,000 feet, 65 knots here coming up across the southern Panhandle around this big high over Canada. And about the same here, continue a broad area of southerly flow, keeping it mild here, especially over southern Alaska, 60 to 65 knots. And 3,000 foot winds showing northeasterlies or east northeasterlies here, pretty strong here, 70 knots western or into actually Russia there, 40 to 55 knots for the western Arctic coast. Turbulence, Aleutians, considerable moderate turbulence along and north of the Yukon River back up into the western Brooks Range, as well as the North Gulf Coast and the Panhandle.